Hi, this is Bruce Rawles. Today I'm talking with Susan Dugan about A Course in Miracles, which I enjoy doing frequently. And today Susan suggested reading the epilogue from the Manual for Teachers, which is really a wonderful section. It's really the last part of the three main volumes of the course. And it's sort of sets the stage for continued practice, continued deepening of our journey, seeming journey back to the place we never left in our mind, where the Holy Spirit is our guide and leading us to a place where we trust that guidance more and more, and it just becomes ultimately automatic. But since we're not there yet, we need these
Right.
words of encouragement. So anyway, welcome, Susan, as always, and thanks for
Yeah.
suggesting this topic. Do you have any announcements or anything you'd like to mention at the beginning?
Not
Yeah.
really.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just dive right in? I'll read the first paragraph, and then we can talk about it. How's that sound?
That sounds fine.
Sound good? Okay.
Yep.
Epilogue. Forget not, once this journey has begun, the ending is certain. Doubt along the way will come and go to come again. Yet is the ending sure. No one can fail to do what God appointed him to do. When you forget, remember that you walk with him and with his word upon your heart. Who could despair when hope like this is his? Illusions of despair may seem to come, but learn how not to be deceived by them. Behind each one, there is a reality, and there is God. Why would you wait for this and trade it for illusions when his love is but an instant farther on the road where all illusions end? The end is sure and guaranteed by God, who stands before a lifeless image when a step away, the Holy of Holies opens up an ancient door that leads beyond the world. Wow. Huh?
Not in there.
Yeah. I just the first two sentences had doubt and certainty in them. So I did a quick search on the new web edition of the course. There's 177 instances of the word doubt, but there's 187 instances of certain. So I think certainty is more important than doubt here. That was the conclusion I drew.
Kind of neck and neck, but
Yeah, there's a close second, but doubt
right.
loses out to certainty in the end. So I think that's a good omen for us all. That even though we have incredible challenges practicing and overcoming the resistance to making this the thought system of our mind, the course's Holy Spirit thought system. Um, the outcome is certain, as it says. We don't have to worry about the outcome, and if we just really contemplate what that really is telling us, we can afford to relax. Not that we always do that, but we can
Right.
afford to relax.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's too, I mean, it's very reassuring in a lot of ways. This comes at the end of the manual for teachers, so it's really the last thing in the book, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so and it's acknowledging that Jesus knows that this is as he says at the end of the workbook, it's this is a beginning, not an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he definitely is describing this as a journey, as a continuing journey that that he accompanies us on. He meaning the symbol of that healed memory of wholeness in our mind. So he keeps telling us that we're never alone, and he also really describes very well, I think, the way that we vacillate between our wrong and right minds. We ultimately meaning the decision-making mind, the fragment of the decision-making mind that we are, and so that's very comforting too, because it tells us that the fact that I'm peaceful, I've returned to peace through the practice of forgiveness, and see my brother maybe have even had a holy instant in which I've perceived someone that I was having a struggle with, or seemed to be having a struggle with, as, the sameness in us and our shared need to find our way home. 5 minutes later, or 5 hours later, or 5 days later, I may find myself just wanting to murder this person again. And
Yep.
so it's very helpful that he acknowledges that. He says that you will go back and forth. Doubt along the way will come and go, and illusions of despair may seem to come. So that's helpful, because I think there's we tend to want to be further along than we are, and it's not really helpful to do that. It's really about a very present practice of right now, which teacher am I choosing? And really the whole purpose of the manual was to reinforce this idea that we have a guide, that we have that we have the shared interest of, as teachers of God, having gone through the workbook, of finding our way home together, healing our mind, healing our split mind, and learning that no one is sinless. And the second sort of agenda of the manual is to teach us that we're never alone, that we have this part of our mind that is always there for us, when the pain becomes too much, and we finally realize that we need to choose we can choose a better way, and we're able in humility to recognize that we're wrong again, that we were mistaken, and that this is really, it's not what I think it is, but it still seems real to me, so I need help from the part of my mind that knows that I'm dreaming. And so I think he packs a lot into this first paragraph, really almost a summary of the entire manual, and then a kind of, a pep talk for how we should proceed, right?
Yeah.
So,
When you mentioned pep talk, and at the end, I was kind of hearkening back to a memory from a few decades ago. I went through the first 3 degrees in Freemasonry, and in each degree, they have to do this ritual, and very symbolic, and actually a fair amount of metaphysics in there if you're looking for it, which I was.
right.
and at the end of the ritual, the candidate is given the charge, which is basically a recitation of the responsibilities of that degree, and in each of those, it's basically really about being mindful. It's about being responsible and using what we've been given in accord with higher guidance, and so I think this really is a charge, if you will, that Jesus is giving us, and it's basically saying, I'm entrusting you and charging you with the responsibility of looking at your mind, seeing that you can, in fact, use the certainty that I have, that Jesus is telling us, and draw upon that and rely upon that, and use that, like you're saying, to set aside and drop our own dubious certainty, and recognize that we'll make it, and to be happy to be mistaken. And
Right.
that word mistake kind of always reminds me of how much I appreciate the Course's distinction between sin and error. And error is a forgivable mistake, whereas the sin, which is what the ego wants to make real, is always uncorrectable and unresolvable,
Right.
and worthy of great wailing and gnashing of teeth, basically.
Right. I mean, in the Course, it's even kind of deeper than that, in the sense that it's saying that we're mistaken about the belief that we're mistaken.
Yeah. That's a great insight.
So,
Thanks. Yeah.
So, but yes, it's not sinful. It's
Right.
just it's a misinterpretation.
Yeah.
And honest, and really importantly, a failure to laugh. So taking it seriously, something that wasn't serious, that really was just a passing whim,
Right.
seriously, and then continuing to battle with it, in the illusion, rather than just turning around and realizing nothing happened. So, but still, it's very. Well, I mean, he makes a reference to who stands before a lifeless image. So, again, we're fighting with a projection, something on the screen, a puppet, Ken used to say, right? Or, an image, and that we have made, and it's really nothing. It's just an outside picture, embodied picture of the conflict in my mind over the belief in separation, and that has been healed and can be healed right now in my perception if I let it. So, yeah.
The metaphors that the Course uses that come to mind is the engine of destruction, and I think this might have been from Ken, the need machine.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
which are both pretty apt descriptions of our body,
Yeah.
but it's really, as the Course always keeps pointing out, and I know you've shared this in innumerable occasions, that it's not the body that's the problem, it's the decision to believe in separation that's the problem. It's that whole thought system that really ultimately is forgivable because it didn't happen. And that's the mistaken that we were mistaken again. Yeah, which
Yeah.
I really like that phrase. I'm
Yeah.
going to use that. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll read the next paragraph. So he's just, he's segueing from having said that, you know, well, he goes on to say, you are a stranger here. Here meaning in the dream where we, in the condition we think we're in, but you belong to him, capital H, him, who loves you as he does himself. In truth, we belong to God. And echoes of that lesson 182, you are a stranger here, you're an alien here.
And the same thought. Yeah.
Right, ask but my help to roll the stone away, and it is done according to his will. We have begun the journey. Long ago, the end was written in the stars and set into the heavens with a shining ray that held it safe within eternity and through all time as well, and holds it still, unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable. And that's the light of the Christ self, that face of innocence is held for us. Nothing happened, and there's that little reference to the biblical Jesus here with the stone is rolled away, the stone
Right.
being a symbol of
Right.
that crucifixion was real and death is real, and then the idea that's impossible, and it was immediately corrected.
A done deal that never happened. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that last triplet of unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable, because that not only does it nails it for all of eternity, but also, takes care of the three sections of time that we think exist in our limited awareness of the past, present, and future, which really, it goes head to head, not in a confrontational way, but in a transcendent way with the ego's, unholy trinity, as Ken Wapnick puts it, of sin, guilt, and fear. The sin is our belief in sin never happened. So it's our holiness, our innocence, our sinlessness, as the Course will put it, that we all have, is unchanged. And in the past, it's unchanging in the present, so there's no cause for guilt, and it's unchangeable, so there's no foundation or justification for fear.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's pretty comforting if we really let it sink in.
Yeah. And it's that reversal of the idea, the belief that we changed our reality, that we changed our state as a oneness joined as one.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why we're also terrified of change, because it's that reminder of the belief that we changed reality, that we changed our state. Yeah.
Yeah, another excellent point.
Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, you want to read the next one?
Sure. Be not afraid. We only start again an ancient journey, long ago begun, that but seems new. We have begun again upon a road we traveled on before and lost our way a little while. And now we try again. Our new beginning has the certainty the journey lacked till now. Look up and see his word among the stars, where he has set your name along with his. Look up and find your certain destiny the world would hide, but God would have you see. And there's an obvious reference to our identity, and it seems like
Yeah.
the identity that the ego has, which is uh, we think we're the home of evil, darkness, and sin,
Right.
Is systematically dismantled and vaporized by the Holy Spirit's thought system of forgiveness. And we just have to look at all the ways that we've projected that out onto the world, and keep saying, oh, it's I'm a separate self, but it's not my fault. That's the ego's mantra would have it, right?
Right.
But
We
it hasn't
remain.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We remain as God created us, and our name is written in heaven. Well, it's not Bruce and Susan.
No.
It's the one. That oneness joined as one, the abstract union of our reality in God.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, let us wait here in silence and kneel down an instant in our gratitude to him who called to us and helped us hear his call. And then let us arise and go in faith along the way to him. Now we are sure we do not walk alone, for God is here, and with him all our brothers. Now we know that we will never lose the way again. The song begins again, which had been stopped only an instant, though it seems to be unsung forever. What is here begun will grow in life and strength and hope until the world is still an instant and forgets all that the dream of sin had made of it. And then, as it says elsewhere in the Course, will simply cease to seem to be, right? And so, yeah, and it's, we do not walk alone, right? We have this, the faith comes from that, at least in the beginning and for a long time along the way, until we really, our mind is, of the guilt is dissolved, that we are completely supported in this, and that we don't know how to join with others or take our brothers with us, but we'll find our way, because we're with a guide that knows, that sees us all as sinless, and will help us share his vision. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I was thinking that not walking alone really is on a couple of levels, or seeming levels.
Right.
and that, the Holy Spirit or the Jesus of the Course is obviously, implied as our appointed friend and our appointed guide that we, can draw upon and trust and rely upon moment to moment to moment. And, reflected in the world, we get feedback from everything and everyone that can support that, if we're using that thought system to undo the insanity. And so each person, if they're basically expressing loving kindness, we get that feedback. And if in many cases they don't seem to be, that also becomes an opportunity to look at our own discomfort and see, oh, well, I'm this must be my call for help as much as it is the so-called others.
Right.
And then we bring it back inside and realize we're not upset for the reason we think. Once
Right.
again.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's our opinion of, our reactions to our brothers, to, whatever seems to be, whatever relationships that we're in, that give us the feedback of which teacher we've chosen, right? And and we're training our minds to take that as a red flag, that I've chosen wrongly. If I'm seeing, if I'm seeing separate interests, if I'm seeing, and we're not talking about in form, there's different bodies cannot join, and there will be different opinions, and there will be different preferences. But if I'm making that a reason to be angry or upset or depressed or anxious, and saying that it's because of someone else, then I know it's my call for, it's always my call for love anyway, because there's nothing out there. So any deviation from peace is a reminder that I have work to do. I have a practice, and I've forgotten again, and that's okay, because as he says, the end is sure. You cannot fail, right? We all made it home.
Yep. And when you say we have work to do, I was thinking how, again, sort of two ways of looking at that is, in truth, we need do nothing, because, and I think the admonition of that is that we, as a separate self on the level of mind, if we I like to sometimes jokingly say, we step away from that thought system, aka ego, and no one will get hurt. If I can remember not to do anything with the ego's guidance, and I need do nothing with that thought system,
right,
then I'm staying out of mischief and the silly shenanigans of the ego. But on the level of form, we may have tons of things to do, but we can do them with ease and without having to use a knee-jerk reaction to go to grievances. And when our preferences aren't met for whatever reason, and we suddenly find ourselves, well, gee, I'd rather do this, but then I think that's why places in the course refer to, and it seemed like there's also some biblical reference as well, like turning the other cheek, but going the extra mile, and if in the course it's if your brother asks you to do something outlandish, do it. That obviously doesn't mean doing anything harmful, but it's like if I'm upset, I'm making the dream real. If I get bent out of shape by a preference not being met, or certain things not turning out the way I think they should as a separate self, that becomes a classroom opportunity for forgiving myself.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So, and I mean, that I need do nothing is but forgive, right? Or change the purpose of my relationships and the purpose of whatever I'm doing in the world, the roles that I'm playing, and all of the busy things that I have to go through, within my day, and all of the interactions that I have become a classroom for forgiveness, right?
Exactly.
So,
And that becomes almost
yeah,
fun at times when we remember not to take it too seriously, and
right.
just kind of enjoy the observation process, and
When we're
try to see
right,
the humor that Jesus sees.
right, right.
Yeah.
But when we need it most is usually when we're not.
Right, of course, of course.
We've already
Exactly.
chosen. So,
Yeah.
but it does we're getting closer and closer to making that, having that pause, being able to
Mhm.
catch the thought and catch the judgment and say, do I really want to proceed from here? Because we should be learning that one way will bring us more hell, and the other way will bring us peace. And what do we want? And sometimes we want more hell, and that's okay too. I mean, Jesus is not judging us, or there's no urgency with this, but he is kind of saying, how long do you want to keep hurting yourself like this?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do the next
Okay,
paragraph, which
sure.
is,
Shall I read number 5?
I think, did you just read? It doesn't matter.
Did we?
Yes, go ahead, read
Did,
5.
did we?
I don't know, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and read 5. Yeah,
Okay, okay. I think you read 4, did you?
I probably did. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, if we missed it, whoever's
It
listening
doesn't
can
matter.
go
Yeah,
back and read it.
right,
Okay.
exactly.
So here's sentence 5, or paragraph 5. Let us go out and meet the newborn world, knowing that Christ has been reborn in it, and that the holiness of this rebirth will last forever. We had lost our way, but he has found it for us. Let us go and bid him welcome, who returns to us to celebrate salvation and the end of all we thought we made. The morning star of this new day looks on a different world where God is welcomed and his Son with him. We who complete him offer thanks to him as he gives thanks to us. The sun is still, S-O-N, and in the quiet God has given him, enters his home, and is at peace at last.
So many echoes of lesson 182.
That
The
feeling
newborn
of,
world, and
mhm,
yes, and all the references to rebirth, um, and just and so comforting. He's doing a lot of what he does throughout the course, which is speaking both to the process of where we are, moving up the ladder, practicing forgiveness, being still in a split mind state,
mhm,
but beginning to develop trust, and make this the new purpose of our seeming lives. And the healing of my mind becomes the overriding purpose of all the roles I have to play and all the things I have to do as a body in the world. But then he speaks, you know, to, especially in this paragraph, to the top of the ladder and to, you know, where this is leading, which is, you know, back into the arms of God, the heart of God, and everyone is included.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, yeah.
And that bi-directional thanks, I guess you could call it, in
Right.
sentence 5, we who complete him offer thanks to him as he gives thanks to us. That sort of reminds me of the forgotten song, and of course
Yes.
the whole supplement, the Song of Prayer, is
Yep.
this eternal, unending song of thanksgiving, which is, you know, hard for us to contemplate other than just occasional glimpses when we momentarily suspend our insane mind and have moments of respite and peace, and
Mhm.
then it's like, yeah, you can kind of hear a little echoes of that song now and
The
then.
echoes of eternity, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just even if it's just a momentary um, pause where we allow the peace of that
Right.
realization to enter our mind. The Course reminds us that that has, you know, untold impact, and maybe saving us thousands of years, you know, when we have
Right.
those holy instants.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it really is sort of a rebirth of, you know, of that of innocence
Hmm.
that we thought, you know, that we thought was lost,
Right,
being
right.
reborn to the part of our mind that knew you know, knew that it prevailed,
Hmm.
knows it prevailed,
Hmm.
and that we are still included in that. We're still all welcome home. So yeah. A
And we've
nice,
never
nice,
lost.
cheerful one for us today, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Relatively.
it
Yeah.
really is a good reminder that you know, beyond ego's insanity, there really is you know, a brilliance, and you know, it really transcends even the word hope, you know, but a reality that awaits us
Right.
patiently. And I keep coming back to this metaphor of I'm the only one I need to worry about um, getting things in order. Everyone's already home. Everyone's already in the party, and I somehow have dreamt that I left it, and I can afford to just not worry about what anyone else is doing, and just focus on, okay, what am I doing with my mind, and which thought system am I
Right.
using at any given moment?
Right. To just be
Yeah,
very as presently focused as possible.
yeah,
Um, even when we're, you know, when past thoughts are coming up that seem to disturb us, then yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly.
well, I'm glad that we visited that one again.
Yeah, yeah, short but very sweet, huh?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, anyway, it would probably always good to remind people to support the two sister foundations,
Yes.
Foundation for A Course in Miracles and Foundation for Inner Peace. And if anybody hasn't checked out the new web edition of the course, you can go to acim.org and click on read the course. And I'm using it right now to read this on the screen here, and as well as quite dozens of times a week lately. It's just such a great compliment to the printed version.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Ken's organization, which has been the work being carried on wonderfully by Jeff and Virginia and the folks there, doing the weekly talks on the journey through the text. That's facim.org. And then you can always visit Susan's wonderful writings, which I always enjoy every time
Great.
you make a new blog post at forreasonforgiveness.com. And then I'll post all this on acimblog.com too.
Great. Great. Yeah.
So thanks again, Susan. I always enjoy our
Thank you.
conversations. And this was a
Enjoyed it.
particularly inspiring section,
It
and
is.
worthy of rereading frequently, isn't it? Just to,
Yes.
if we need a little pep talk or a little charge, a little
Discouraged.
reminder
Ignored.
to
Yeah.
hang in there, and you know, that the doubt will go. You know, I saw a friend walking into town the other day, and he seemed to be discouraged by something going on in his life, and I just felt, you know, this too will pass. I was kind of reminding myself as well as everything that seems to be challenging, you know, that it's temporary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true. Yep.
So
Yeah.
we can afford to be kind, compassionate, and very patient with ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. And look forward to the next conversation.
You too.